you're live. All right, go ahead. Morning, everyone. So
Morning.
we're here with a group of people. We must have about 25, maybe more, for a repair estimate, learning how to fix and flip a house with a builder. That would be me. Built an awful lot of homes, a little over 200 of them. So we're here in Altamont Springs to learn what it is that one should do when they rehab a house, from structural problems to cosmetic. More importantly, as to what is the best things to put into it to earn your best profit. So what I want to know, guys, is Angela, how about we start with you? What suggestions would you have for the kitchen area? Any?
Yes, definitely probably just redo it all. I would prefer to definitely knock this down so it's more open and I can see out the back.
So you do away with those wall
Have more
cabinets. Now
things
you're
in.
gonna sacrifice some wall cabinetry, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you take these down, and there isn't a lot of cabinets in this room to start with. But I'm agreeing with you to take it down. Anything else that you would do with it?
Yeah, definitely, I don't like how low this ceiling is.
The ceiling definitely should come out. There's no reason for that to be in there. That was just an old style. It was very popular in the 70s, early 80s. I'm not sure when this house was built, but it's probably in that era. So yeah, that definitely, a lot of times, and at one time, I can guarantee you, that had fluorescent light in there. That fan was not there. It was fluorescent and there was that plexiglass covering. That's how it was originally built. And then they retrofitted it and they put a fan in there because it was too hot in the kitchen. So what I would do in this room is, the two things that you said, is definitely raise the ceiling, open that up there. But I believe that this is not a bearing wall here. And if it's not a bearing wall, and you'll know because you're going to want to take this down, if there's not a beam supporting across there, then you can't support half the roof here and not support it over here. So I'm suspecting, because generally, walls that run parallel with the length of the house could be a bearing wall. But here in Florida, if it's all trusses, there sometimes is no. If it's a continuous truss that goes all the way across, not where it only goes from the rear to the center of the house and from the front to the center. But today they build the trusses that go straight across. Valerie, Jean, and Eric and I, we just purchased a house in Orange City where there's not an interior wall at all. But that house was framed differently, but nevertheless, there is not a bearing wall in it because there are no walls. So what I would do is take that wall down, and I'd also take down the other wall, and that would open up the whole area and make it one big room. And now that'll give you more area to rearrange of how you would do this kitchen. And you can't really come too far this way because of the fireplace, which is a shame because it would have been nice to extend the cabinets this way. But you probably can put a big floating island in a double width one and have cabinets on both sides so that it would be 2 feet and 2 feet, would be 4 feet, or maybe 6 feet long. Nice big piece of granite on top of it. That would really open it up. I would fill in that floor over there so that it becomes one big room. Now, as far as, have any suggestions of what you would do with the fireplace? I always like to ask the ladies because it's more feminine input.
Yeah, I would definitely clean it, put a hearth on it, might even paint it to lighten it up a little bit. And even thought about maybe putting like some contrasting tile or something up on top because it's basically just a sitting, I wouldn't really use it for any other than decor, but maybe to give it some contrast.
I couldn't agree with you more, and if you look on your repair sheets in the living room, I believe, or family room, I have fireplace, right? I have mantle, which is what would go on here, and this being the hearth. So I would agree that I would put tile or some kind of stone or something on here, probably paint this, and have something attractive on top of here. So that would fix that up. Now, you have popcorn ceilings in this house. I didn't really look the head up at every ceiling, but I didn't know. Anybody notice any of them spots where it was falling down? It seemed to be in decent shape.
Not falling down, but some stains.
Oh, there was some patches?
Yeah.
So,
Staining.
if it's minor patches and minor stains, you can fix that. If the popcorn was never painted, because popcorn when it's applied has paint in it, and it'll come off very easy. You can get that done for $1 a square foot. And that would be removing it and putting knockdown on top of it. Knockdown is a different finish. On these walls in here, they don't even have an orange peel, and that's a semi-gloss paint. How about on this wall over here?
Just like roller marks.
Yeah, it looks like more like roll marks. It's almost, well, this has got an orange peel on it over here. That has an orange peel. So an orange peel is just what it looks like, and from the distance, it looks like the wall behind Jean, that wall may have it too, one that you're leaning against. You can see the highlight of it from here. So that would be a decision whether or not to take down the popcorn would be my last decision. You know, I'm not gonna wait, I mean, before I start construction, I'm gonna know that decision, but based on the budget, that's one of those things that the house will not stop you from selling. Not in this price range, because nobody's walking in and doing this. They're gonna look at the gorgeous kitchen you're gonna put in, the flooring, your head's like this, looking around. Nobody's doing this. They'll do that when they're laying in their bed, saying, look at that ugly ceiling. But when they're buying it, they're not. It's, you know, not in this price range. So it's not, if the budget allows it, yeah, I'm gonna take it down, especially if there's a lot of damage, because then at that point you might as well. But if it's in decent shape, you know, then I'm probably not going to do that. Now, as far as the kitchen's concerned, it already has a backsplash, and depending on, you know, it's kind of plain because it's just 4-inch tile. So it depends on once you take everything down and how you're gonna redesign it, whether or not I would keep it. Because it's really not gonna come any further. More than likely, this is the only spot you're gonna put because you really can't expand the pantry unless you had more cabinet. Something else that you could do is if you didn't take that down, but then you'll be hurting yourself because you could put a little bit of cabinetry right there, floor to ceiling, and get more pantry. But then I still like the idea of opening it up because now you got more area for tables and stuff like that. And it just, right now it's boxed in right now. You know, you can't see out there. You can't see that way. So it would just change the look of this house drastically if you could take these 2 walls down and then get rid of this here. I like that the sink, although it's not centered in that window, which is odd, where they did that. That would bother some people, you know, the center of the sink's not in the center of the window. But that's a minor thing. Not gonna change that, although as you're redoing it, you might do that, but the reason is they had a corner cabinet on the base, and if you didn't use a corner cabinet here, and you used a dead cabinet, then you can get it from here, or you can get it from here. You don't want to use dead space, you still want to utilize it, then you'd be able to do that. Once you take these cabinets down, these are 30-inch cabinets, you would be able to go with 42-inch cabinets. But again, that's something that you don't need in this price range house to put the 42-inch cabinets in. What I'd rather see is crown molding above it and maybe space above it, or no crown molding and just leave the space because people like that too. Some people hate it because it's a dust collector, other people like it because it's for decorations, you know, it just gives it's a different look. So that's what I would do there. Dishwashers, kind of in a funky spot, but it's still okay because you can still work here and put it in, so that's all right. So the outlet, the lay of it is okay, and it makes the triangle that you're supposed to have. Tiling, that's got to go. Now, there isn't a lot of tile in this house. This runs into, no, actually it runs the whole hallway. So what you could do is you could float. If you pull up the carpeting, there's going to be a slight difference then in the thickness from this to that. We've done that before, where the carpeting is where either you're going to pop this up, and that's going to cost you 50 cents to $1 to remove it and cart it away. So to the labor charges that I already gave you for flooring, now you have an extra charge because you have to remove what's here. But you could fill in the height difference where the carpeting is with the concrete board that you use with behind tile, and you would have that cemented down with the thin set same way, and now it'll even out the floor, and you could then float either an engineered flooring, a laminate, vinyl flooring, and have the same flooring go out throughout, which is what I would do, especially if you turn this into one room, it ought to be one. Now, some people will delineate where the eating area is, but if you did a vinyl, or you did it, or a water resistant, we've put engineered hardwood flooring in a high-end home in the kitchen, you know, so, you know, it's more the look, people are going to love it, and they're not going to think about the practicality of it. If God forbid the dishwasher or something overflows, we've got root flooring. But you always want to leave them a bunch of extra, and the beauty behind the floating floors, not glued, is that if it does get damaged, you just go to the baseboard, pull off the baseboard, and start taking each piece apart, get to the damaged spot, repair it, put it all back together again like a puzzle. It's already pre-cut for you, so it's not a big deal to repair that. This house has old-fashioned doors and trim. Again, it depends on the budget. You know, everybody wants the 6-panel doors and the fancier molding. Here you have the clamshell molding, which is this molding here, which is half of a clam, right? And then these are flush luan doors. One of the things that we like to do is make sure that all of our trim matches, so that whatever hardware we put on the doors should match the hardware. Like this light right now has a brushed chrome, but of course that was added. The doors were here already. So they didn't want to buy that, maybe at one time they would thought, all right, honey, the next project is maybe we'll change all the hardware. So try to match everything, especially when you get to the bathrooms, that your bathroom accessories, your faucet, your bath towel rings, your toilet holder, all that stuff should match, whether it's chrome, brushed chrome, or, you know, bronze rubbed, always try to make everything match. And so as far as, let's go towards the master bathroom now. Before we go in the master bathroom, because unfortunately somebody pooped in there. But if anybody wanted to make a suggestion, did anybody come up with an idea of what they would do to change that bathroom? What?
Let's say remove the poop.
Remove the poop, that's a good idea. Put a vent in, right? Well, one of the things that I would do, if you noticed it, is the shower is, if you're standing in front of the vanity, there's a wall right here, and behind the wall is the shower. Now, I didn't notice whether the plumbing is in that wall. If it is, I'd have to go back and look at it, but what I'd like to see is that wall removed, again, budget allowing, and turning it into glass. And it could be just a knee wall that could come up a foot or 16, 18 inches higher than the top of the vanity, and then glass above that. And then a glass door so it would wrap, and that would make that room much bigger looking. So that's what I would do in there, and of course then, you know, do a nice fancy tile and, you know, do everything that you can do in there to make it look pretty. But from a cosmetic standpoint, I would open that up. In the hall bath, you have a jetted tub. And there is an access, if anybody found it, because there is a motor. In the bedroom behind it, on the right-hand side, in the front corner of the house, there's a vent on the wall, and that's the access to get to the low, because you always have to have some way to get to that motor. Otherwise, you have a problem. I don't know if I would keep that. It depends whether or not you could change those jets. They're discolored. If you can't, I'm going to probably, you can reglaze. I don't know if you can reglaze those, because then they won't move once you reglaze them, because they're like an eyeball. You can move them around. So I probably would get rid of it and put a new tub in. A hall bath should have a tub. I would not change it to a shower, because you never know if it's going to be young children and they like to bathe the kids, you know, especially if it's an infant. I want to put it in the bathtub. In a master bathroom, if there's only a bathtub, I'm getting rid of that and changing it to a shower. This particular one only has a shower, but that's what most adults are going to do. So who's got some questions or inputs that they'd like to suggest?
I just have one quick question.
Sure.
We talked about removing this cabinet here.
These, yes.
Were you talking about the bottom too?
No, you can't remove the bottom, because then you have no cabinetry left.
Right.
The reason for doing that is, I can't see anybody right now. Can't see the fireplace, can't talk to anybody.
I get it.
It just makes it claustrophobic in here. Today, everybody likes more of an open feeling. But you're losing these cabinets. With these cabinets that you're losing here, you could get those and then some. You could actually double what you have there if that was base cabinets of an island. So if you did remove this, then you'd have room for the island. I might have mentioned that before, and I might have said that before maybe, so I might have thrown you off. But if you do that, now you got a problem with where you're gonna put your dishwasher. You have to really give it some thought. Bring in you bring your cabinet guys in, and you know they do so many of them. They see things that you're saying you're too close to the forest to see the trees. But again, this is a price range of the home, and it's not the end of the world. If I can't put the island in, then maybe I might put a floor to ceiling right here, and I might make an archway, and I might open that up and leave this here. Depends on what I find in the ceiling. I prefer to open it all up. And it does have a pantry. There really is, now, one other thing, that's a vent. So I was gonna say, if we're opening that up, there's the possibility, if you open this up and rearrange where the vent is, you wouldn't need this door here, then you could get a floor to ceiling cabinetry right where I'm standing. And that would not take away from, and just frame this wall to here, and then open up the rest, and now you've got more cabinetry that you're sacrificing if you can't do the island. What do you think of that?
Sounds great.
Right? Again, it's all the budget, what are you gonna do? Taking the walls down is not expensive. Once you take it down, obviously you're gonna have drywall repair, so at that point, we might wanna then redo the popcorn, if you did that, because you're gonna have repair in the center. So at that point, probably gonna take the popcorn down. Here, the popcorn was already removed at some time, but they did that in here.
We're gonna get rid of the ceiling fan and just put a nice fan.
Yeah, I
nice
don't
light
like,
there.
I don't like ceiling fans in low areas. If they wanna put it back in, I'll let them, let that, again, it's not something that's gonna stop the house from being sold, but it accents that it's a low ceiling. You've probably heard me say that numerous times. You think, people like Gina and myself, it really looks low. It's like we have to watch that fan, is that gonna decapitate us or what? Or you do one of these and it's like, ow. So, mirrors, I would get rid of the mirrors. some people like mirrors, you know, that's a cosmetic decision that really a female or an interior designer would need to make. You know, whether or not they're in good shape or not, because mirrors does give you depth to a room. But once we open up these walls, you really wouldn't need that, right? Okay, so what are some of the other things that, anybody catch anything on the plumbing in this house? Or electric? Anything that should be noticed? So let me take a look underneath here, but it's kind of weird. Does everybody know what poly tubing is? Who doesn't know what poly tubing is? You don't know what poly tubing is, all right? The house was plumbed in copper, but there's a tubing called poly tubing and polyethylene, and it's a bluish gray tubing. And they've actually, if we come inside, instead of showing you a photo of it, there's a repair that was done in the garage here. Yeah, this is it.
Let's turn on the kitchen light.
Oh, okay. The lights are all messed up.
All right, Brucey would've got me in trouble.
That whole,
Why?
that whole
So
arch
it's not
thing
it.
on the light.
Huh?
But that's done right, just the right.
No, that's definitely, now, they do make, I have not seen it, but I've been told that they make a PEX that is gray. But I don't believe that that is it. I believe that's the poly tubing that was done when they had, when this was changed, that the guy had to use some of this. It could be PEX. PEX is usually a white, a milky white color that you'll see at Home Depot, Lowe's. That's okay, that's actually more expensive. But this was copper, and then they converted it to poly. But I'm gonna show you a picture of one that I took of a house that we own that has the poly in it, and it's grayish, bluish color, right? This is basically what you see right there. So that's why I'm suspecting that that is poly tubing. Now, if you come into the house and it's all this, you need to change the plumbing. Now, this is an older home and it has copper in it. I didn't see any signs where they had to open it up, but that copper is under the ground, and a lot of times you get a pinhole underneath the slab. And it happens for two different reasons. Actually three. There's movement to concrete, and if they didn't sleeve it, if they didn't protect it, in other words, putting some foam or something around it, when that concrete moves, it eventually wear over years, 20 some odd years, and all of a sudden there's a pinhole. The other problem of why copper gets pinholes is that we have a very high content of chlorine in Florida water. Because it's organics in the water, it's a warmer water, it's not really cold, so it grows, so they put more chlorine in it. And the third reason is, which is generally what happens, is there's a chemical reaction between the concrete and the copper. So when it protrudes and comes through the floors, you're supposed to put the same stuff that's insulating the refrigerant line here, this black foam. That's what's supposed to be so that it doesn't touch the concrete. So what happens is you get a pinhole, and then you gotta replumb the house. When you replumb a house, that won't necessarily, so what happens when you finish with the house and it's copper and you didn't change it? What's gonna happen is your homeowner, your potential buyer, is gonna get an inspection, right? And the inspector's gonna say, hey, it's got copper tubing, you know, in Florida we do get pinholes, but I don't have a crystal ball, it can last you another 30 years. He cannot make a statement saying that you got a year or two left. You know, that would be very unfair of him. On the other hand, if it has this plumbing throughout the whole house, he needs to tell you that, because there's a problem with getting insurance. Not all insurance companies will pick up on it, but a lot of them today know about it, and it's in their policies, or there's an exclusion in this, that's some fancy wording that they say if we come out and determine that it was due to faulty plumbing or whatever, we don't, you know, so either way, that inspector, the home inspector, is gonna scare your buyer. When you replumb a house, since it's all underneath the floor, when you replumb it, let's say the water was coming in right over there, you bring it into that wall, you bring it up in the attic, and then you drop down, and, you know, if this wall right here was behind it was a shower, then I'm gonna drop down in here, open up over here, instead of opening the tile in the shower, to get to the shower body. And you gotta do that, but let's say that you missed this, and you didn't do that, and then you have two bathrooms that are back-to-back showers, you got tile on both sides, you just redid the tile, and your home buyer finds out that there's poly tubing, right? Now you've got a nightmare because you got to open up the tile in order to get to it. So you don't wanna do that, because the stages that you do when you get a house, the first thing you do is clear all the garbage out. This house already had that done. And the next thing you do is you do all your demo. So if you are taking down walls, you take down all the walls, you get rid of anything that you're throwing away, scrap it, carpeting, fans, do all your demo, right? Because then, if you're doing any electrical work or plumbing work, especially if you're replumbing, they're gonna do more demo. And so you wanna get all the demo, you don't wanna be repairing drywall, then hire the plumber who's gonna make holes in your drywall, and then bring your drywall guy back in to do drywall again out of sync. Should